discussions today. And here is my guest. There is Cynthia, and there is Clarissa, and there is May. Today we'll be discussing about several sexual harassment cases that recently gained public attention in Indonesia. And we will focus on three different cases. The first one is about the Faculty of Law University of Indonesia case. The second one is about University of Pembangunan Nasional Veteran of Jakarta case. And the third one is about the Transjakarta case. Through this discussion, we want to understand about what happened, why these cases matter, and what lessons we can learn from them. But before the discussions begin, I want to remind everyone that this discussion is not intended to judge people individually, but to raise awareness and encourage people to respect and know about safety and accountability in society. Before we start, let's begin with a simple question. So, Cynthia, why do you think these cases became such an important things?
Yes, thank you Tabitha for the question. I think this case became important because they happen in places that people usually consider safe, like universities and public transportation.
Yes.
And in my opinion, when sexual harassment happen in educational institution, it damages people trust.
Yes.
Students must be expect universities gonna provide a safe learning environment. But this case show us that safety cannot always taken for granted.
Yes, I agree with Cynthia. Another reason is that many victims today are more willing to speak up through social media. As a result, cases that might have been in the past now receive public attention.
Yes, I agree. Society is becoming more aware to this sexual harassment, and regardless to age or gender, so that's why people are need to pay more attention to this incidents.
Those are excellent points. So let's move on to our first case. Cynthia, could you explain to us about the case that you want to share to us and to our listeners?
Sure. Okay guys, so the Eva UI case involved a group of students who repeatedly share inappropriate and sexually degrading comments about female and lecturers in online group chats. According to Caldera News and Suara.com, the case involved 16 students and 27 report victims, including students and lecturers. The incident attracted national attention after screenshots of the group chat is spread in online in Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. To clarify, the issue was not only about offensive jokes. The problem are the conversation contains sexual objectification and behavior that could be categorized as a sexual harassment in digital environment. If I had to abbreviate the case, I would say it was a case of digital sexual harassment that create discomfort, fear, and emotional harm for the victims.
So, if I understand correctly, the harassment mainly happened through online communication rather than physical contact?
Exactly. For example, imagine a female student that discovering that people are discussing about her body in private group chat without her consent. Even if there is no physical contact, the emotional impact can still be serious. Okay, now I'm gonna share to you guys a short story. Imagine a first-year student who is excited to start university life. She joins classes, make new friends, and feel comfortable on campus. But one day, she finds out that some students make inappropriate comments about her and other women in private group chats. At first, she felt embarrassed and confused, right? And the situation became more serious when the screenshots began circulating viral on X, Twitter, and Instagram, and more victims comes forward. Eventually, the university investigates and takes action, although the process cannot erase the emotional impact, but it encourages discussion about digital ethics and respect on campus. In my opinion, this story reflects how online harassment can affect someone's confidence and sense of safety.
Yeah, I really agree with you, Cynthia. Because some online harassment is really can affect someone's confidence. Thank you for your sharing, Cynthia. So, May, what do you think about this case?
I agree, Cynthia. The story highlights that digital harassment is still harassment. Sometimes people think online comments are harmless, but they can have real consequences for victims.
I agree as well with you, May, because it also shows why students need better awareness about digital responsibility and respectful communication.
That's a very important point. So, now let's move on to our second case. So, May, could you tell us about the University of Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jakarta case?
Of course, Tabitha, the University of Pembangunan Nasional Yogyakarta case attracted public attention because it involved against university lectures. This made the issue particularly serious because there was a power imbalance between lecturers and students. According to reports from Tempo and Media Competent, several lectures were investigated and the university later imposed sanctions while strengthening supervision and victim protection efforts. To clarify, a power imbalance occurs when one person has authority that may influence another person's decisions, opportunities, or future. Let me tell a short story that illustrates the issue. Imagine a student who dreams of graduating and building successful career. She respects her lecturer and trusts the university environment. The conflict begins when she experiences behavior that makes her uncomfortable for someone in a position of authority. She worries that speaking up might affect her academic future. The climax comes when more reports emerge and students demand accountability. In the end, investigations are conducted and the university takes action. This story shows how power imbalance can make victims feel trapped and why institutions must provide self-reporting mechanisms.
That's a very clear explanation. So, how this case is different from the Faculty of Law University of Indonesia case?
The major difference is the relationship between the parties involved. In Faculty of Law, University of Indonesia, the issue mainly involves students. In University of Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Yogyakarta, there were allegations involving lecturers and students, which creates a stronger. The major difference is the relationship between the parties involved. In Faculty of Law, University of Indonesia, the issue mainly involves students. In University of Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Yogyakarta, there were allegations involving lecturers and students, which creates a stronger power imbalance. In my opinion, victims may feel more afraid to report misconduct when the alleged perpetrator has authority over grades, recommendations, or academic opportunities.
I completely agree. Students often depend on lecturer academically. Because of the dependence, reporting misconduct can feel risky.
I got your point, Cynthia, because however, I think universities should make their reporting system more accessible so victims feel safer when they want to speaking up.
That's a good suggestion. So, creating a safe reporting system is definitely important. So now let's move to our final case. So Clara, could you explain the Transjakarta case for us?
Sure, the Transjakarta case gained public attention after inappropriate sexual behavior occurred on a public bus and created discomfort for other passengers. And according to reports from Indonesian National Police and IDN Times, 2 male perpetrators were arrested after committing incident acts inside a Transjakarta bus. And these incidents as quickly went viral and raised concern about safety in public transportation. To clarify, this case reminds us that inappropriate sexual behavior in public space can affect many people, not only the direct victims, but also someone who feels uncomfortable or unsafe. And I'd like to share one short scenario. Like imagine a young employee taking crowded bus home after work and it feels like an ordinary evening. But suddenly he noticed inappropriate behavior happening nearby. At first, he felt unsure what to do, don't know what to do, but the situation becoming more intense when other passengers starting to notice it. And eventually, the incident is reported and received public attention. So the resolution is not only about handling the perpetrators, but also about reminding the society that everyone deserves a safe public environment. But in my opinion, this case highlights the importance of public awareness and responsibility of shared spaces.
That's an important point. Cynthia, what do you think about this?
I agree. Public transportation should be a safe space for everyone, right?
Yes.
When incidents like this happen, they can make passengers feel anxious and feel unsafe.
Yeah.
I agree as well. At the same time, I think public transportation operators should continue improving monitoring system and public reporting mechanism.
I agree with all of you because I think prevention requires cooperation between transportation providers, authorities, and passengers themselves.
We've discussed three different cases. So looking at them together, what lesson we can learn from them?
Okay, one common lesson is that sexual harassment can take many forms, including digital harassment, abuse of authority, and misconduct in public space.
Another reason is that victims need safe and accessible reporting channels. Without support system, many victims may choose to remain silent.
Yes, and I would say, and I would add that societies should stop blaming victims, instead focus on accountability and prevention.
Yeah.
Those are very insightful observations. Now, I'd like to ask one final question before we close. So, do you think awareness campaign alone are enough to prevent sexual harassment?
I think awareness campaigns are very important because they educate people about consent, personal boundaries, and respectful behavior. If people understand this issue better, I believe many incidents can be prevented.
I don't completely agree with you. Awareness campaigns are helpful, but they're not enough on their own. Like strict police, it's kind of hard, I think, because we need a proper enforcement, and some people may still ignore the message. So I think like kind of FOMO people kind of that. I think it's just not enough. So awareness campaign is don't completely agree.
That's a fair point. I agree that rules and consequences are necessary too. I just think education should be the starting point.
I agree with Clara. Education is important, but institutions also need reporting system and firm consequence for misconduct. Otherwise, victims may still feel unsafe.
That's an interesting discussion. So it seems that all of you agree education is important. So, but there are different views on whether education alone is enough. Would anyone like to add something before we close?
I think education is one of the most important solutions. People need to understand boundaries, consent, and respectful behavior from an early age.
I agree. Prevention is always better than dealing with the consequence later.
And I believe everyone has a role to play. We shouldn't ignore harmful behavior when we see it.
So, to conclude today's discussion, we learned that sexual harassment can occur in many forms and in different environments, including digital spaces and educational institutions and public transportation. Overall, these cases teach us that preventing sexual harassment requires not only awareness and education, but also strong police, accountability, victim support, and active participation from society. Okay, thank you everyone for listening to our podcast today. I'm Tabitha, and thank you to Cynthia, Clarissa, and May for joining today's discussion. See you in the next episode.